Hello and welcome back to the Failed Breakdown channel, back here with another trade recap. It's Wednesday, December 10th, FOMC day. We had a beautiful failed breakdown right off the open of the 68.35 level, a nice treat for FOMC, get into those runners before the madness. It's happened right around 9:40, so we're going to talk through that real quick. It's currently just a little bit before FOMC is going to kick off, but I wanted to get this one out because I'm sure we would have all forgotten about it come the evening session. But this was a textbook, great trade with the third type of acceptance. So good lesson to learn here. As ever, check out Adam, check out his methodology from the website, and follow his tweets. Highly recommended. Just take a quick look at the context, then we can get into the charts. Okay, so here we are. We've been very strong on the back of Thanksgiving, pushing higher, pushing higher. We've established this range. Per the newsletter, we're kind of in the inner range of coiling within a range, I should say, with the support being down here at 68.47, resistance 68.68. And then that is within the broader range of 68.15 to 68.93, and then on top of that, the 68.47 is kind of aligning right now. Obviously we've got the morning and the afternoon session showing here on the 4-hour, but coming into the open, we were right at this 68.47 magnet level again, which was coinciding with the bottom of the upsloping channel. So just be aware that things are coiling very tightly. We're at the bottom end of a range, but a range within a range. So potential for some opportunities here. Let's flick over to 5 minutes. Let's go to the 30-minute and full screen that. So main levels to pay attention to coming into this morning. So just ignore the action that's really happened, but coming into this morning, we'd managed to reclaim the 68.47 level again. We had that nice reclaim on Monday at the end of the day. Put a couple of back tests of it yesterday, and then came back, lost it yesterday evening, then recovered, and then in the London session flushed it pretty heavily and put in a nice shallow fail breakdown of the Monday low here at 68.35. So that then gives us a cluster of a couple of lows at this important level to potentially be watching for a failed breakdown on. And then the alternative is to look for a reclaim of 68.47, or were we to push up higher, potentially a low quality and technically quite difficult strength reclaim of 68.68. We've had quite a bit of acceptance up here, so that was one of the other kind of potential trades to be watching out for. In the pre-market, there was a level to level move that finally broke through the 68.47 level. I took that for a level to level, but then the runners stopped out, which kind of made that one a wash for me. But there was a trade in here which we'd been obviously with a critical pivot, we'd been accepting it all night, and then finally got some momentum coming into the pre-market. But that's not really the trade I'm going to be talking about today. This is going to be the main trade right down here. So let me flick back over to the execution and we'll get into it. Okay, so here we are. It's about 15 minutes before the open here. We've got our plan in place. We've mind played, or we've thought through in our minds the potential scenarios, which for here are, for us to then recover 47 again, push up to 68, maybe dip there and reclaim 68. So that would obviously be a very strong bullish move. The next would be just to chop around sideways around the 47 level, in which case we're not going to be doing anything. And then a couple of options to the downside. We push down and potentially hold this zone and lift and recover 47, or what we're really looking for and hoping for is the flush of the 68.35 level, which is the primary trade of interest. So, you know, with that in mind, we can go ahead and kind of mark out, obviously we've got the level marked, but we can also mark out the danger zone just in preparation for that, should it were it to transpire. So that's what I've gone and done here, playing at real-time speed, but I'm gonna accelerate it right to the open, and then we'll take a look at the execution. This was a perfect example where you really want to be applying the third type of acceptance, which is obviously you know, where we push above the danger zone, kind of hold for a couple of minutes, and then look to trigger along there as kind of close as you can to the top of the danger zone. Okay, let's go a little faster. Just to be clear, I'm looking at the 15-minute chart here primarily. Also have the range, 20 range chart over here. Kind of like that for looking at the swings. You know, sometimes when you're looking at the 15-minute, you can see all these swings in the 15-minute, but maybe you missed something or you forgot. So this to me is a kind of equivalent to a lower time frame, just giving me a little bit more detail and maybe memory. But you can see all of this in the 15-minute if you're really glued to it. And speaking of that, you know, one thing that I find important is to really get locked in and focused before the flush happens or as the flush happens. I find when I'm not doing that, I'm significantly more flustered. You know, if I'm coming to the trade and it's already flushed and it's in the process of recovering, I'm significantly more kind of flustered as I'm trying to get up to speed with what's transpired. So, you know, it's great to set alerts and not be too active until that point. Okay, we've just hit the open. I'm going to slow things down a little bit. But if you are going to set your alerts, set them a bit higher, I would. So for the 35 here, you know, you could set them at 68.40. So if that breaks, then you can be watching, get to your charts. Obviously, this is happening right at the open. So, you know, we're all pretty glued to the charts at this point. But, you know, when that alert goes off, when the flush happens, dial out the noise. I know a lot of us are in the Discord, kind of keeping tabs on the chat, but you know the process, you know the rules, so you can dial that out and just focus on the charts and executing properly. Okay, so we're right at 832 here, just breaking through the 68.40, and while we're at 68.40, important maybe just to note this level here, and it does have a little bit of significance later on when we go through the acceptance process. So right at 68.38, you know, nice little swing off that low. We've come down from, you know, 10 points down into it and then lifted 18 points off of it. So, you know, maybe not a significant low you'd want to trade an FBD off, but still a level to note. And you can use that for, you know, you can use that in your understanding of acceptance, or rather when you're kind of watching the acceptance process to see, you know, if that level is going to add any significance, if price is going to hold at that level, more importantly, you know, were we to poke above it and then test it from above. So here we are, 834. I think the trade triggered right around 840, so maybe I'll just go a little bit faster. 4 times speed here, so starting to move. Yeah, pretty good volume, typical for the opening 15 minutes here, up in the 1000s. So, you know, we've been chopping quite a bit in the last couple of days. Obviously, all of the attention is on FOMC, and this opening 15 minutes here was a nice little break from some of that we've been in. We had a bit of volatility, we had some decent price movement, so, you know, those things are obviously working in favor for us as this trade sets up. So I'm running this at currently 1.5 times speed, but nice flush here, 4-point flush, just about. So on the low end of a shallow flush, which means, you know, if we're just thinking about time, that means we're going to be want to be on the quicker side of entry. but never too quick, of course. You know, if we're thinking about roughly, you know, 2 to 10 minute kind of entry window after the reclaim. You know, it's a shallower flush. Volatility is pretty good, so we know we're going to want to be entering reasonably quickly if this gives us the right formation here in the acceptance process. So we've flushed. It's a shallow failed breakdown, so really no opportunity for type 1 acceptance. We didn't see that. We're just reclaiming for the first time here at 837, maybe 837 and a half. So, you know, this is a good time to note down. And so the next thing, obviously no type 1 acceptance. The next thing we're looking for is, are we going to get a type 2 acceptance swing here? So, you know, right now would be sort of the time for that to initiate, where it to come back down, test the level, dip slightly beneath it, and then push. That was obviously our type 2 acceptance, but we've had a very strong lift here. You can see the volume still high. We're getting great delta, so excellent momentum there. That's what we want to see, but you know, if you're following Adam's kind of acceptance protocol, there's no entry has been triggered here, but we are now above the danger zone. We broke through that right around 838. So this is a great time to just get a clock, get your cell phone out, start a stopwatch, and just doing that act will help you to avoid entering at the wrong time. The last thing you really want to be doing is entering now. Like this is a really bad time to enter. You've missed the aggressive momentum push through. You're getting very close to the significant level above at 47. So you've just got to sit through this. I know it's difficult, and you know and you know, price can easily just keep ripping through here, of course. But there's been no acceptance, so just the risk of getting trapped at this point is just too high. You've just got to avoid it. So set that stopwatch. It's been running for about a minute now, maybe a minute and a half. And wait, give it at least 2 minutes before you trigger that entry. But I find that act of setting yourself a timer going really does help. And so I'd highly recommend or encourage anyone to do that. So still just running at 1-to-1 in terms of speed. Your volume's dropped off a little bit, speed of the tape. And now we're starting to get an attempt from sellers to drive it lower. We're getting a little dip. I mean, it's nothing significant, but we are getting a little dip in price. So now what we want to see is this dip fizzle out. I wouldn't really call it significant enough to consider it type 2 acceptance. We're still just hovering around the top of the danger zone, but notice that 38 level, bouncing straight off of that. So right now I would say there's a valid entry right here, and the entry window here, you probably have a minute for which you can enter, but any time around this point, it's been above the danger zone for 2 minutes or above / you know, right at the top of it. We bounced off this little level here, so you're just looking to take an entry right around the top of the danger zone, anywhere around 40, 41, and that would be your entry right around there. So yeah, it's not complicated. It just requires patience. You know the rules. We've got the significant low, we get the scary flush, we wait for the acceptance, type 1, 2, or 3, and then we trigger an entry. You know how the acceptance goes. If there's no type 1 or type 2 acceptance, give it a couple of minutes at the top of the danger zone. If price carries on ripping and doesn't hold at the top of the danger zone, then look to potentially engage at the higher level. I don't think the context for that in this case is particularly good, because this was 47's been such a sloppy magnet. But yeah, weigh up the context and the significance of the level above. Just because this is a pivot, it's not the right place to do it. But were it just to carry on ripping, you don't need to chase. Just wait to follow the acceptance protocol at the next level up, and then if it doesn't hold the top of the danger zone, wait for it to dip back to the level and then lift, and you can kind of trade the type 2 acceptance there. But yeah, pretty relatively straightforward, I'd say, this one. Yeah, we got our nice swings. There's the flush. In some ways, you can think of type 3 acceptance as type 2 acceptance just happening higher up. You know, if this here would be type 2 acceptance, this would be type 1 acceptance, this is type 3 acceptance. Okay, we might not be getting such big swings, you're really just looking for a hold up here, but you can just kind of visualize that pattern happening at different levels relative to the significant low. Okay, and we get our first trim. I'm going to fast forward it here just to show. We get our first trim there at 47, obviously, so the trade is roughly 40 to 47, or 41 or 42 to 47, so anywhere from 6 to maybe 5 to 7 points on that one. Stop is below the lowest low by a few points. The low here is at 30.75, so maybe you're down at 26-ish for your stop. I was able to get a trim here. I took a bit more off at 52, just given how choppy this has been, and not really expecting a massive move ahead of FOMC. I don't think I'd got it at that point, but a little bit later on I got it at 52. And then perfect, really, down to 10% runner before FOMC. You can't ask for anything more than that. So sit back, enjoy the fireworks at 2 o'clock. Don't need to sweat it. Maybe wait at least for the first half hour to develop, or maybe just wait for the evening session and into tomorrow. And usually by then, price has picked its direction and things are much clearer on which way we're going. So I hope that's helpful. We'll catch you all in the next one. Thanks. Bye.